Hello everybody, John here with Shooting Tips and Tricks, and today we're going to be taking a look at the 40 Smith & Wesson versus the 9mm. Now over this past year I've seen a lot of debate going around about which is better, the 9 or the 40, and I think a lot of it started from the FBI decision to go back to the 9mm. So I figured, what the hell, I'll throw my hat in the ring and probably piss off a few people. So, for this we're going to be taking a purely technical view on which is the better round. And for that I have a whole page full of chicken scratch and a couple of bullets. Alright, for the first part we're going to be looking at just the data involved with the ballistics and the bullets and all of that. So for the 40 Smith & Wesson, we have a range of bullets available from a 135 to a 204. For the 9mm, we have a range of bullets from 88 grain to 150. Now I will say that a lot of this data comes from reload data, because available ammo is limited, and if you want to know the full capabilities of the round, the reload data is the best way to go. Alright, now velocity between the two. So the 40 Smith & Wesson has a velocity anywhere from 724, that'd be with a heavier bullet, up to 1350 with the lighter bullets. The 9mm from 750 up to 1532. That was the fastest one I could find. Now pressure on these, and that's generated in the barrel, of course, are foot-pounds, or not foot-pounds of energy, pounds per square inch. Alright, now the range of pressure for the 40 is 25,000 up to 35,000, and the pressure for the 9mm is 22,000 up to 35,356. That was the highest one I could find. Alright, so they're both pretty close to the same. The 40 starts out a little higher and doesn't get quite as low as the 9. Now there was a few oddball pressures I found with the 9mm that were really low, like 13.2 and 14.5, but they didn't really represent any kind of average. So the average was ranging between 22 and 35, and then there was a couple that were way down there. Alright, now brass length between the two. 40 is 0.850, and the brass length on the 9mm is 0.754. Brass diameter 0.424, and on the 9mm is 0.394. Alright, so the 40 you're going to have a little bit more case capacity, and you have higher bullet weight and all of that, as you can see between the two. I'm sure most of you already know that. Now, another one I did is, since the bullet weights cross over each other, with the 40 being 135 to 204 and the 9mm 88 to 150, we can actually cross-reference load data between the 135 and 150 mark. So, and I did that down below here. I found some reloads of the basically same bullet weight, same powder, between the 40 and the 9. Now, for the 40 and the 9, we chose Accura number 5, which was the hottest powder I could find in there, and a good one that represented both rounds. Now, the range on the powder was 8.4 grains to 9.3, and that's from your starting load to your maximum do not exceed load. And these are usually a little on the lighter side. Reloading companies have to protect their own interests, so they don't want people blowing themselves up. Now on the 9mm it was 5.5 grains to 6.1 grains. So the 40 is running a bit more, which would be which would correlate to the larger case, gives you more capacity. Now the velocity on the 40 was 1151 to 1266 feet per second. On the 9 was 974 to 1110. So with the same bullet, same weight, same powder, you're going to be shooting faster out of the 40, and that's mainly due to the higher case capacity. You know, the 9mm, you get up to 6.1, you're probably approaching the compressed load range. Now for another one I found was the 145 grain. I wanted to go something low and then something high. The highest one I could find that correlated to both was the 145 grain, and again that was with Acura number 5 powder. On the 40 was 7.2 grains to 8 grains, and on the 9 was 4.6 to 5.1 grains. The velocity was 1072 up to 1179, and on the 9mm it was 862 up to 984. So again, the 40 has the advantage on the velocity with that one. Pressure, oddly enough, the pressure between on the 40 was both with either load. It was at 34.9, and on the 9mm, on the 135 grain it was 33,000. On the 145 grain it was 26.8, which that I was actually surprised about. Heavier bullet generally inhibit higher pressures, but in this case the pressure was actually lower, which is a bit odd. Alright, now up here we did a little comparison on bullet expansion. Now this is going to vary a lot depending on what type of bullets. It's going to determine a lot on your expansion. So I just chose something middle of the road with a 50% expansion rate. So on the 40, bullet diameter is 4.0, and on the 9mm is 356. So we halved that for our 50%, so 2.0 on the 40 and 178 on that. So an expanded bullet at 50% expansion, you would have 0.60 on the 40 and 0.534 on the 9mm, which is a substantial difference between the two. Now the reason I did this is for home defense applications. Your main goal is when the bullet strikes your target, you want it to dump its energy as fast as possible, and that's going to make the bullet decelerate and limit your chances of overpenetration and so on. Well, a larger diameter bullet, when it expands, gives you more surface area. More surface area allows it to dump its energy faster and causes it to decelerate. So, and you can get a similar expansion with a 9mm if you went with a heavier bullet. But the problem there is, since the 9mm is smaller diameter, it's going to be longer when you get a heavier bullet. That gives you a longer column of material that you need to displace to get the same expansion. Now with a longer column, it requires more energy to get that expansion. If you have larger diameter and shorter, it requires less energy to get that same expansion. Alright, now let's see what we cover next. Oh, I have a book here. We'll take a look at our velocity and energy on different aspects of them. So we have the 9mm down here. I'm not sure if you guys can see a lot of this, but we have bullet weights ranging from 100, or no, we have an 88 all the way up to 147 or so. A lot of 115s, a few 124s, powders, your typical pistol powders, FL, factory loads. Grains about the same as what we represent in our notes here. Velocities, looks like on the low side we have 975. On the high side we have, that'd be 1150, 12, 1500, and that's at the 88 grain. Yep, but the average is around 11 or 12. Now, one of the reasons I went to this book is it gives you energy. Now, on the 9mm, you see on the lighter side we have an energy of around 294, 360, 399, 440, all around there, 400. Alright, and the bullets, we have your typical Hornady, Spear, Sierra, and then a bunch of factory loads, U.S. military load. That one is actually one of the hotter ones, 124 grain, 1299 feet per second, 465 on the energy, and yeah, military load. And with the energy, this is generally representative of kinetic energy or foot-pounds of energy. Oh, and quick note for those of you that don't know, potential and kinetic energy. Potential is gravitational mass of an object and its position. Kinetic energy is object in motion. Alright, now we'll go take a look at the 40. So, bullet weights, 135, 155, 180, 200, 155, 180s. About the same as what we noted in our book here. Powders, Universal, HS7, a lot of factory loads. Grains of powder, about the same as what we represent, about 7.4, 5.8, 7.5. Velocities, on the high side 1324, on the low side 9, 10, 11, 12. Average velocity is around 10 or 11. Foot-pounds of energy, we have on the low side 390, 360, on the high side 524. Looks like about the average is around, I'd say around 400 range. And bullets, list a lot of Hodgson and then factory loads. And this is older data too. Alright, so the 40 definitely has the edge on the energy and bullet weights there. Alright, now that we've covered all of that, the few other nice notes that I would like to address is a lot of this debate between the 40 and the 9mm I heard starting to come up after the FBI announced that they were going to be switching back to the 9mm. There's three more main points that I heard them say that they're going to do, or their reasons for doing that, and the 9mm being a better round wasn't one of them. The three main points that I heard was wear of the gun, ease of use, and capacity. Now, capacity is an understanding one. You can, the same frame, you have a higher capacity. And it's a logical step since law enforcement generally misses their targets about 70 or 80% of the time. So if you have more ammo in your gun, you're going to get more hits. And as far as the wear of the gun, that's also understandable because the 40 is going to wear out faster because, well, they're using their guns a lot. I mean, they may not use them much on the job, but they're at the range training and keeping their skills sharp and all of that. And on top of that, most of the 40s are built on 9mm platforms with minimal modifications for them to be 40. And the problem with that is your shooting a more powerful round on a platform that wasn't designed for that powerful of a round, so of course it's going to wear out faster. Now if you have a 9mm and you're shooting plus P ammo, you're going to have the same issue. It's going to wear out faster. But guns that were built for the 40, you won't have that issue with wear. And in a sense they'll actually last longer, because anyone in the bench rest industry will tell you that a larger diameter bullet, the barrel's going to wear out or wear out slower, because you have more bearing surface, distributes the wear more. Smaller diameter, you have that wear concentrated in a smaller bearing surface. Now the other one, let's say, is the ease of use, which the 9mm is generally, since it's a less powerful round, you're going to have lower recoil and muzzle climb, so they're going to be able to keep it on target and easier, and it'll be easier for female officers to use. Because unlike the movies, the FBI is not these freaking assault team that freaking goes in and seizes a bad guy and all that crap. I mean, they're not like SWAT. And most of them are desk jockeys. And because with the FBI you have your field agents and then you have your non-field agents, which are pretty much just desk jockeys, like I said. Now, I've heard a couple other things going around as far as the two of them. One was, with the advent of newer ammunition, the potential of the 9mm is nearly the same as the 40, which that's understandable. Some of the plus P rounds with good quality bullets, they do have some pretty good performance to them. But if you took that same technology they applied to the 9 and applied it to the 40, you would now have a round that's comparable to, say, a 40 or a 10mm or even a 44. So that's where that bit doesn't really make sense to me. Now in available ammo, that's a whole nother aspect there, because there's tons of stuff for the 9 and there's not as much for the 40. So if you're just shooting factory ammo, you'd probably be better off with the 9 because you have a wider range of availability. Some of you might say, well, why don't they have that for the 40? Like, well, ammo companies, they're in the business to sell stuff, and they're gonna make whatever sells the fastest. So 9mm, since it's been out for far longer than the 40, and there's way more guns that shoot it, it's more prolific, I mean, everyone's got it. Of course they're going to make more stuff for the 9 than they are going to be for the 40. So there's that aspect. What's another one? Oh, and for home if you're using the gun for home defense, I mean, if you, like I said, if you just shoot factory ammo, you're probably better off with the 9 because there's way more variety. But there's a lot of good stuff for the 40. Now, as far as potential goes, the 40 is much better for home defense. You have larger diameter, you have higher velocity, you have higher energy. I mean, everything's a boost. And if you reload, then the 40 is going to be an even better round, because then you can optimize its full potential and get everything out of the round that you possibly can. I mean, and even a lot of the special custom bullets out there, some of them are becoming available for reloading. So there's that aspect. And and another one I've heard is people talk about the 40 has a sharper recoil, which is also true. And a little explanation behind that one is, since the 40 is based off of the same frame as the 9, like you look at like mainly Glocks. You have the Glock 17, Glock 22, same gun, different caliber. Glock 19, Glock 23, same gun, different caliber. Now the problem there is when you have sharper recoil, it's generally due to two factors. The main one is the travel on the action. And since both of these are built on the same frame, you have the same travel in the action. Now the 40 is more powerful. So when you fire that round, the action is going to start to travel backwards. Now, as it starts to move back, the mainspring is trying to push it back forward. Now, as it's traveling back, the mainspring is slowly slowing it down because it's continually pushing forward. So when it hits the back to the full travel, the speed that it's going when it bottoms out is going to determine how sharp that recoil is. So since the 40 is more powerful, that slide is, or the action, is moving faster when it bottoms out at the very back of the travel. So that's going to give you a lot of that sharp recoil, because then it's just freaking frame to slide contact. Now the other part of it actually has to do with the bullet itself, and this is the smaller aspect of it. And set these aside here and draw a little, just put in a quick sketch of a bullet here. Alright, so on here you have the bullet, the full bearing surface from here to here, the curve of the bullet up here where it meets the full diameter is what's referred to as the ogive. Now, if you take and slow down this bullet to where it's like a bug flying past your field of vision, the moment that that bullet leaves the barrel, as soon as the tip is out and it reaches the full diameter, as soon as this full diameter starts to come loose from the barrel, you have less resistance, so that powder is going to push the bullet faster. So the longer this surface is the more resistance that's being put on the gases and the barrel, and once those start to break loose, the bullet's going to start to make a sharp increase in velocity, all the way up until the point where it reaches the back of the bullet and it completely breaks loose from the barrel, and then the gases explode out and your full recoil is initiated. The shorter this bearing surface is, the shorter that expansion and velocity is. So basically, on a round like the 40, which has generally a shorter bearing surface, once it starts to break loose, there's a quick snap in velocity, and then the gases explode out behind the bullet. On one like a 9mm, which has a longer bearing surface, you're going to have a longer expansion on the velocity before the bullet breaks loose from the barrel and the gases explode outward. So, now this is a very minor part, but it does add to that snap in the recoil. Nope. Alright, but after all of this, what it comes down to is which round works best for what you're doing. Alright, well, I think that's enough of me rambling on for now. If you survived to the end of this video, congrats and thank you. If you like this video, there's a button right over there. If you didn't like this video, well, there's a button right over there. If there's anything you want to add to the discussion, let me know in the comments. If you absolutely despised it, consider following me on Instagram. Alright, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Keep your mitts off my tools. He's watching you.